The KXAN News Podcast is sponsored by Shelf Genie. In-depth, investigative. This is KXAN News Today.
As we begin the new month of March and the unofficial start of severe weather season, our forecast actually calls for a risk of strong storms this week. Good morning, I'm Erica Brennis.
Hard to believe it's already March. It goes by quickly. I'm Mike Rush in for Tom Miller today. And Kristen, these storms seem to be right on track.
Right, yeah. March 1st, severe weather season unofficially kicking off. We know severe weather can happen at any point in the year, but
Right.
Typically happens a lot more in the spring. And starting tomorrow, we've got a risk of severe weather. So let's get down to it. I'm going to begin with what we've got going on now, because as of this morning, this is just a little bitty rain that we've got in the northwest. Most of this isn't even hitting the ground, but it is showing up on radar, seeing some pockets of drizzle, pockets of sprinkles as well. We hope to get a little rain today. It's only a 10% chance, but you know what? We'll be grateful for that moisture. Live look outside. This is our Ewell Kubota weather camera there in Georgetown. Whether you're just waking up with us or maybe listening to us in the car on the podcast, thanks for joining us. You're currently sitting in the 60s and 70s this morning. These 60s and 70s much warmer than normal. In fact, these temperatures are running a good 10 to 25 degrees warmer than even what we had yesterday. Our visibility is slightly reduced with some low clouds and fog, but we don't have alerts, and none of this is dense fog. I'm going to keep an eye on it and show you this throughout the morning, watching those numbers potentially get a little worse before that sun comes up and mixes out those low clouds. Your bus stop forecast, those 70s warming to the upper 80s today. It's going to be more clouds than sun, really. I'm not expecting a whole lot of sunshine, unfortunately. But the severe weather risk, that's going to be what our focus kind of centers on here over the next 24 hours. That severe weather risk is increasing as we get into tomorrow afternoon. So I'm going to walk through the timing and the threats of that for you, getting into the latest data of what those high resolution models are showing. And then the winds, unfortunately, are going to increase in a very big way behind this storm system. Brings us to this, our wildfire risks significantly increasing as those winds come up late tomorrow. Yesterday, the governor put state resources on standby and ready to respond to possible wildfires. The wildland fire preparedness level has been raised to a 2 out of 5. Basically, that level allocates more firefighters, emergency managers, and officials to vulnerable areas of our state. Now, as that level increases, more resources are ready and deployed. You can read more about this on a brand new weather blog that exists on KXAN.
Thanks, Kristen. There could be some trouble if you were planning on dropping off your ice storm brush in Round Rock. There was a fire last night at the wastewater treatment plant that's currently serving as a temporary brush drop-off location. Now, no one was hurt, but crews say an excavator and mulcher being used for brush disposal caught fire. We reached out to find out if this will impact brush disposal, but we're waiting to hear back. The cause of the fire is still being investigated. It could take several more weeks for people in Travis County to get their storm debris picked up. 2 drop-off locations changed their hours. The county says there are still just too many calls. The drop-off locations at Mansfield Dam Park and Northeast Metropolitan Park will change from being open every day to only being open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
This morning, Austin police are still looking for the person who hit someone in North Austin and drove off last night. The victim died at the scene of Runberg Lane and North Lamar Boulevard. APD has not released a description of the vehicle or the driver in question.
You could see changes along the hike and bike trail near Rainey Street in Austin.
30-year-old Jason John died along that part of the trail. His death prompted the city to discuss lighting and surveillance yesterday.
Since his death, his friends and family have pushed for additional safety measures. KXAN's Brianna Hollis has the plans to address this issue moving forward.
Jason walked this trail every day and still somehow didn't get home safely.
Josh Gale was friends with Jason John, who was last seen on Rainey Street before police found him dead in the lake days later. While John's story prompted Tuesday's City Council committee discussion on trail safety.
Prevent incidents like the ones that we heard about today.
Loved ones of people with similar fates also spoke out.
Martin went missing off of Rainey Street November 19th.
I'm here for my son, Christian Pugh.
Here representing my little brother, Joshua Alvin Crow.
While each case was different, they all had a common thread. No answers about what happened before their loved ones died or got hurt.
Unfortunately, all of us are left with this huge gap in our lives that We really need some answers.
Inside city council chambers, more than a dozen people addressed their own tragedies and pleaded for the city to improve safety.
Every interview you find online, you're going to find me begging and begging for surveillance and lighting. That was never done.
Their passion to make sure that real change happens, I think, is heard from all of us here on the dais.
The Trail Conservancy says it's now working with the Parks Department on ways to bring lighting, surveillance, and call boxes to this part of the trail.
That combination could really help save lives as well as give closure and answers.
That was Brianna Hollis reporting. Going in depth, the 2021 Safety and Mobility Study of the Ann and Roy Butler Hike and Bike Trail found it had minimal lighting, but through research and community input, the study found reasons not to light the entire trail, such as wildlife conservation, light pollution, cost, and minimal oversight. Hundreds of Texans united around a teacher and student who survived the Uvalde mass shooting. The laws, activists, and survivors want lawmakers to pass.
And the discussion around how to get more money into teachers' pockets. That's coming up.
Good morning. Your time is 4:38. It is March 1st. If you can believe it, we have started a new month in the year 2023. You're looking live here from our Ewald Kubota camera in Georgetown. I-35 quiet. Traffic conditions off to a quiet start on this Wednesday morning.
Look at me! You couldn't recognize her! You stood around and watched the shooter have free range of shooting innocent kids and teachers!
The sister of one of the victims from the mass shooting in Uvalde confronted Steve McCraw, the head of Texas DPS. He testified before the House Public Education Committee yesterday. The agency faces criticism for its response to the shooting 9 months ago. Outside the Capitol yesterday, hundreds of Texans united around Uvalde teacher and student, one of those, each a teacher and a student who survived the mass shooting.
That's right, and activists and survivors want lawmakers to pass gun safety laws.
I shouldn't have to be here right now, but I am because my friends don't have a voice no more.
We lost 21 beautiful souls that day. The urgency for you to support common sense gun laws is vital. For our school system, our children, and our future. I see it very fitting that the age limit be raised to 21.
Raising the age to 21 will require widespread support from the Republican majority. At the hearing, the Texas Education Agency's chief of school safety told lawmakers that he believes every school campus should have armed security, but he worries the state doesn't have the funding or the staffing to allow for that. 26 million Americans waiting to hear back from the Supreme Court on the president's plan to forgive student loans, how arguments played out.
An Austin musician dealing with the tragic loss of his teenage son. How Dripping Springs ISD and the music community are coming together to honor him.
Good morning, all. A big night over at Dish Falk for Texas baseball hosting the #1 team. It went down to the wire. We have the details coming up.
This KXAN News podcast is brought to you by Shelf Genie. I'm Rosie Newberry from KXAN Studio 512. Considering replacing your kitchen cabinets? Struggling to find or reach things? Go to shelfgenie.com/Austin. Shelf Genie designs custom pull-out shelves for your existing cabinets, adding convenience and value to the most used room in your home. Shelf Genie custom pull-out shelves, everything in reach.
Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Happy March 1st. Happy new month. Here we go. Are you ready for it?
Ready or not, here it comes.
Here it comes. It's still undecided if millions of Americans will have their student loan debt forgiven. The Supreme Court heard oral arguments in 2 cases that challenge President Biden's plan to forgive up to $20,000.
Coming up on Today, NBC's Laura Jarrett digs into the question of whether those challengers to the law were harmed and if they actually have the right to sue.
A key campaign promise for the president in legal limbo after several hours of oral arguments here at the Supreme Court. Several of the justices seem skeptical that the president has the authority to forgive $500 billion in loans in the way that he has, whereas other justices really zeroed in on the idea that the people who have sued in this case, borrowers and several Republican-led states, weren't actually harmed by the president's plan. What it all means for you, that's ahead on Today.
Students northeast of Austin will get extra days off next school year. Rockdale ISD will transition to a 4-day school week for the 2023-2024 school year. Students will attend school most weeks Monday through Thursday. Sometimes teachers will use Fridays as extra planning and development days, and sometimes they will be used as an extra day off. District leaders say the decision was made with input from parents, teachers, and the community, and is designed to improve student achievement and teacher retention.
Notice how they said the input was from the parents and teachers, but they didn't say the students, because of course every student's going to want a 4-day work week.
I mean, that's a big change for parents. That was my first thought was, oh my gosh, if suddenly my kid is only in school 4 days, what am I doing with her the 5th day?
I know, but if they ask parents, then somebody must be on board with it. You know, what a change.
To experience the 4-day work week. What a lucky dog.
Well, very college. You know, I remember senior year. Fridays, maybe one class.
True.
Maybe one class at 2 p.m., right?
True.
If I showed up at all.
Exactly. Let me show you what's going on with your Wednesday forecast. There's a couple spots of sprinkles here and there, nothing that I'm worried about. A lot of cloud cover this morning, and those clouds are actually going to stay with us. We're seeing a little disturbance roll in and kind of helping sprinkle us a little bit with some of those raindrops. But the big story, the big storm, that holds off one more day. That's going to be tomorrow. Temperature 60s and 70s. It is very comfortable out there this morning. In fact, these 60s and 70s are running 15 to 30 degrees warmer than where we were at this time yesterday. A significant warm up, but we are going to see those temperatures still on the warmer side this afternoon, just not quite as high over where we were yesterday. Yesterday we hit 84. Today I'm going 87. So we're still kind of in the same ballpark here with those afternoon highs. And the rain chance, I'm going to hold on to just 10% for those spots of sprinkles. Nothing heavy, nothing meaningful, nothing that I'm too concerned about yet. Let me walk you through the next 48 hours, because if I put this into motion, I don't expect a whole lot of sunshine, especially for the first half of today. I think it's going to be dominated by cloud cover. You can see the high resolution model kind of picking up on some of those sprinkles. Once we get into the back half of this afternoon, maybe we squeeze in a little sunshine before sunset, but it's not going to be a lot. There's still going to be quite a bit of cloud cover out there. Overnight into tomorrow, watching for some spotty storms in the morning. This is 6 a.m. tomorrow, and you can see there could be a wet morning commute for some right along that I-35 corridor. So make sure you've set that alarm maybe 5-10 minutes ahead of when you typically do, and turn on the news, because I'm going to be here tracking the potential for these storms. This is round 1. Now we take a break in the afternoon around lunchtime, and then we get ready for round 2, which will be triggered by this cold front moving west to east across the area in the afternoon and evening. 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. That will be the window of some strong to severe storms. It's a 2 out of 5 risk in yellow here for that I-35 corridor eastward, looking at the top threats being damaging wind and isolated tornadoes. The winds will pick up for everybody afterwards. This is tomorrow evening. You can see those wind gusts 40 to 50 miles per hour here. The critical fire danger becomes a concern after the severe weather risk. So there's a lot happening within the next 48 hours. 10% chance of sprinkles and cloudy skies today. Severe storm threat in the afternoon tomorrow, and in the evening, everything clears overnight, but that cold front triggers some really strong winds and high fire danger into Friday. You'll notice the weekend a little quieter. High temperatures in the upper 70s to low 80s. Some breezy conditions exist on Sunday.
This is KXAN Sports, brought to you by Thomas J. Henry.
Good morning, all. USC has won 12 College World Series titles. That's a whole lot. After that, 2 teams on the leaderboard tied with 6. Those 2 squads, LSU and Texas, took the field the night ago at Dish Falk Field. And yes, of course, a whole lot of people in attendance. We'll start at the top of the second. Hit by LSU. Looks like it's going to score a run, but check out the lucky or good short hop pick by Eric Kennedy to throw to nab the runner. That's definitely good. Garrett Gilmet tags him out, and we are scoreless. Still are in the 8th inning. Porter Brown up at the dish. Nobody else. He'd one up from a Longhorn perspective after how well he's been hitting, but a pop out. And to the 9th we go with some zeros on the board. LSU threatening as they did a number of times on the night. Gavin Dugas. Yeah, no more threatening. How about actually capitalizing? 3-run Jimmy Jack to left center. Tigers in front. and spoiler alert, they would hold that lead. Peyton Powell hits this one hard, but goes down as a ground out. Well-played game by both teams, but it is the Tigers of LSU, top-ranked team, that takes down Texas. Next for the Longhorns on the road at Cal State Fullerton. To high school hoops over on KBVO. Tuesday night, regional quarterfinals in the boys' playoffs at Berger. Couple area teams in Buda Johnson and Stony Point. Jags, bit of an underdog, but they were playing well early. Sam McKinney gives Johnson the 11-10 lead in the first, but Stony Point, man, the fourth-ranked team in the state of Texas, is ranked that high for a reason. Some defense into offense. Eric Mosley going to capitalize. They started the second half on a huge run. This Trey made it a 15-point lead. And how about Stony Point? A 19-point win, and for the first time in school history, they are on to the regional semifinals. Also for Texas men's basketball, they need a win later tonight at TCU in order to stay in the race to what they hope is clinch at least a share of the Big 12 title. We'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Noah. Well, lawmakers are questioning what can be done to get teachers more money. The head of the Texas Education Agency appeared before the House Public Education Committee yesterday. Round Rock State Representative Democrat James Tallarico asked Commissioner Mike Morath about teacher pay and inflation.
On that chart, you were saying that teachers are paid more than ever. This chart is not inflation adjusted, correct?
That's correct.
And so the data that I'm seeing is that Texas teachers are actually paid less than they were a decade ago when you account for inflation. Is that consistent with what you're seeing?
That may be true. I just don't know what the data says, but it's plausible, especially given.
A 2022 analysis by the National Education Association found Texas ranked 28th in the nation for average teacher salary. Commissioner Morath testified on average Texas teachers make around $58,000 a year, but he also said there is a huge disparity between rural and urban school districts.
Tesla is expected to announce plans for its Gen 3 vehicle platform today at its annual Investor Day, Giga Texas in Southeast Austin. The company is also expected to show off the production line as well as discuss long-term expansion plans. Mexico's president says Tesla committed to building a new plant in Monterrey. He said the promise came in phone calls he had Friday and Monday with Elon Musk. It would be Tesla's third plant outside of the United States.
Nissan says it is recalling some of its SUVs because of a key defect that can cause engines to shut off, increasing the risk of crash. The recall affects the 2017 to 2022 Nissan Rogue Sport and the 2014 to 2020 Nissan Rogue SUVs equipped with a jackknife key. Nissan says the SUVs have folding keys that may not stay fully open, so if the driver touches that key, it could fold and it could make that fob turn the car off. According to Auto Week, the Rogue was the 8th best-selling used vehicle of 2022.
Twitter reversing its policy on violent speech. The company announced that under its new policy, users are no longer able to express harm to people or infrastructure. Twitter said yesterday that it may suspend accounts or delete tweets when the rules are violated. This is the first time that the social media giant's rules have become more restrictive since Elon Musk took over last year. The company did not offer an explanation for the changes.
It has been unusually warm here in Central Texas for the better part of the last week, and I wondered if this is unusual for this time of the year, so I came to talk to an expert here at the National Weather Service office in New Braunfels. Temperature fluctuations are nothing new to Central Texas, but an average temperature of 90 on a winter day, it's not as rare as you think.
But we do see this kind of fluctuation in the winter pretty regularly, pretty much every year.
When temperatures get this warm this early, might this mean that we are in for another long, hot summer?
But a lot will depend on how much rain we get this spring. So soils are obviously pretty dry, and when that happens, more of the sun's energy goes into heating the ground, and then thus our atmospheric temperatures then goes into evaporating the water content in the soils. So if we see near or even above normal rains this spring, which it's hard to know right now, that could limit the amount of extreme heat that we see this summer.
Then there's the issue of severe weather. Central Texas is approaching its unofficial 5th season, the spring storm season. This is when Central Texas gets some of its worst storms. Do these warmer than normal temperatures increase the risk of severe weather?
Well, spring is our regular severe weather season, and so we do expect to see some severe weather here through the course of the spring. It's really impossible to say whether we'll see below, near, or above normal storm activity this spring. The Climate Prediction Center outlooks for March 1st through May 31st do call for a likelihood of above normal temperatures, but there's no clear signal for precipitation. Equal chances of below, near, or above normal rainfall.
And while all of this is important to know, I asked Keith the one question I've been asked multiple times. Are we done with freezes?
The average last freeze over the last 30 years in the city of Austin, for instance, is the 15th of this month of February. We can't say for sure whether portions of the hill country, especially low-lying areas, would necessarily see a freeze or not. But chances are lowering every day, and with the short-term outlooks calling for a high likelihood of continued above normal temperatures, it does seem pretty unlikely for most areas to see another freeze this season.
Thanks for joining KXAN News today. You can also listen to KXAN News Nightly every weekday after 5:30 p.m. for in-depth coverage on what matters most to you.